Hello guys, I am Vaishali Kikan from Vaishali's e-learning and we are discussing physics. Now we are moving on to the next chapter, that is vibrations and the wave, and today we are going to discuss the basic concepts of this chapter and then we are going to solve a lot of practice problems, sample problems as well. So let's start our discussion with the first topic of the day, that is wave. First of all, we are going to understand what is a wave. A wave is the transfer of energy over a distance in the form of disturbances. So when you are dropping a stone in the stagnant water, right, so what will happen? You will see some waves around it, right, the circular waves you can see. So this is a transfer of energy actually. You threw the stone was having the kinetic energy transferred in the form of waves. So it is a transfer of energy over a distance in the form of disturbances. Waves are the disturbances, right? So water was static. If you take a water in a bucket, it is a static water, and if you throw something inside it, so there will be generation of the waves, or I can say the disturbances are generating. Coming to the periodic motion. What is a periodic motion? It is the motion that occurs when the vibrations, or I can say oscillation of an object is repeated in equal time intervals. So you can say I am running from here to here and from here again back here, from here again back here. So this is a periodic motion. Yes, it will be, because if I will be taking same time interval to cover the same distance again and again. So it's a motion that occurs when the vibrations or oscillations of an object is repeated in equal time interval. When vibration or oscillation of any object, you can see the pendulum's vibration and oscillation are repeating in a equal time interval, right, with the equal distance. So I can say it's a periodic motion. Now coming to the transverse vibration. Transverse vibration are the vibration that is occurring when the object is vibrating perpendicular to the axis. If the axis is this and the object is vibrating like this, so this is a transverse vibration, right? So if the vibration are perpendicular to the axis, on the other hand, longitudinal vibration will occur when the object's vibration are parallel to the axis. So this is the longitudinal vibration. Then there comes the torsional vibration, which occurs when the object will twist around its axis. We have an axis, the object is twisting around its axis. So you can see the figure. In the figure we have the transverse motion, we have the longitudinal motion, and we have the torsional vibration. So transverse vibration, you can see it is different from the torsional vibration as well as the longitudinal vibration. Coming to the basic terminology related to a motion, right, or that is a vibrational motion. So first is cycle. Cycle is one complete vibration or oscillation. So if a pendulum is there, pendulum is moving from here, it is moving to this position, and from this position it will coming back to this mean position, and from here it will go to this extreme position, and again it will come back to this position. So this one complete cycle from mean period to first extreme, and from first extreme to again mean, from mean to the second extreme, and from second extreme to again mean. So this full cycle is the one complete vibration, or I can say one complete oscillation. Cycle, I can say it's a one complete vibration, or here like we have one complete oscillation. Coming to the frequency. If I have some number of cycles in 1 second, frequency tells me how many cycles we have in this vibrational motion in 1 second, right? So the number of complete cycles per second is the frequency. So I can represent frequency as the number of cycles upon the total time. Coming to the hertz. Hertz is the SI unit of the frequency. Frequency is measured in the hertz, and 1 hertz is equal to 1 cycle in 1 second. So 1 hertz can be represented as 1 second inverse, since cycle is counted quantity. Cycle is not having any unit, only we can count the quantity of the cycle. So 1 hertz is 1 second inverse. It's not a measured unit for the cycle, right? We have only measured unit for the time. So 1 hertz will be equal to 1 second inverse. Coming to the period. Period is the time required for one complete cycle. For this complete cycle to take place, what time is required is the time period, right? So time period is the total time upon the total number of cycles. So I can say frequency is 1 upon time and time is 1 upon frequency, and this is a very important relation, right? Frequency is the inverse of time and time is the inverse of frequency. Coming to the Amplitude is the maximum distance from the equilibrium position to the maximum distance, right? So it is the distance between the extreme position. So like over here we had the pendulum is moving from the mean position to the extreme position. This maximum distance between the mean position and the extreme position is the amplitude, right? So now coming to the in phase. What are the in phase objects? In phase objects are vibrating in the phase if they have the same period and they pass through the rest position at the same time. So we have to check two conditions to say two bodies are in phase. First, they have the same time period. Second, they pass through the same point at the same instant, right? So the object which are vibrating in phase, if they have the same time period and they pass through the rest position at the same time. You can see the rest position over here is the mean position. If the two bodies are coming to the mean position at the same time, they will be having same extremes, they have the same time period. So I can say these two bodies are in phase. Coming to the out of phase, the reverse of in phase is out of phase. So there could be two possibilities. The first possibility is that the objects are not having same period. So if the two objects are not having same period, I can say these are not in phase. Second condition is that when the two objects are having the same time period. So when the same time period is there, then I have to check the second condition that they are moving to the rest position at the same time or not. Right? So the object are vibrating out of phase if they do not have the same time period, or if they have the same period but they do not pass through the rest position at the same time. Coming to the two types of waves. First is the transverse wave. We will discuss what is transverse wave and the various terminologies related to it. Transverse wave is a wave in which the particles in the medium move at right angle to the direction in which the wave travels. So if the wave is traveling over here, the particles will move up and down, right? If the wave motion is like over here, so the particle motion is up and down, which is perpendicular to the direction of the motion. So particles in the medium move at right angle to the direction in which the wave travels. So you can see this is a right angle. Now coming to the crest or positive pulse. This is the high section of the wave. If I talk about this section, this is the crest. Trough or negative pulse is the low section of the wave. This. Right, coming to the periodic wave. Periodic wave will originate from the periodic vibrations when the motion are continuous. If I am talking about the continuous motion, the periodic waves are going to originate from the periodic vibrations and are repeated in the same time interval. The periodic waves are going to repeat themselves in the same time interval. So if I have a sine wave is a periodic wave because it is repeating itself after again and again after the 2 pi time period, right? So now coming to the pulse. Pulse is a wave that consists of a single disturbance. If I have only single disturbance in a wave, then I can call it as a pulse, right? Only single disturbance means pulse. Coming to the wavelength. Wavelength is the distance between successive wave particles that are in phase. So if I see the two particles are in phase, if I find out the distance between these two particles must be the successive particles. If I find out two particles which are in phase and I find out these two are successive particles, the distance between these two particles is wavelength. It is represented as lambda. Now coming to the second type of waves, which are the longitudinal waves. Longitudinal waves are the waves where the particle vibrate parallel to the direction of the motion of the wave. So now if I have a spring, if I stretch the spring, so spring will come and it will come to the compression point. Again it will move to the median point and then it will again stretch. So this motion where the wave is having the direction in which the compression and the rarefaction is also happening. So the particle vibrate parallel to the direction of the motion of the wave, then this is called as the longitudinal wave. So the movement of the wave is in the same direction as well as the vibration of the particle is also in the same direction. So if the movement is in this direction, particle also vibrate in this direction only, right? Coming to the compression. Compression is a region in the longitudinal wave where the particles are closer together than the normal, right? So when the spring is stretched, right, so that time it is not compressed, right? So when you put force on the spring, it is compressed. When you are pulling the spring, so it is stretched. So when you are putting force inside the spring, so it is compressed. That is the region of the longitudinal wave when the particles are close together than the normal. So the springs are very close than the normal condition when you are compressing it. So that is, similarly we have the compression zone in the longitudinal wave. Then we have the rarefaction zone. Rarefaction zone is the region in the longitudinal wave where the particles are closer together than the normal. So the particles are farther apart than the normal. Right, so correct it. So when the particles are farther apart than the normal, then we are calling that region as a rarefaction region. When you stretch the spring, you can see the springs cycles are farther apart than the normal region. So this is the region of rarefaction. What is lambda now? The wavelength is the distance between the equivalent point on the successive crest or trough. So if I see the successive crest or trough, the equivalent point I can find. So the maximum point over here and the maximum point on the next crest. This is the crest, this is the crest. The maximum point I will see and the distance between them I can find out. So here also if I see the trough, the next trough, the distance between them I can find out. If I am seeing the rest zone, or here also I take the rest zone, I can find out the distance between them. All of these distance, the distance between two crests, the distance between two rest zones and the distance between two troughs, all of them are same, and this is equal to the lambda. Lambda, or the wavelength I can say, the distance between equivalent point on the successive crest or trough in the transverse wave. If I talk about transverse wave, we have the crest and trough. If I talk about the longitudinal wave, we have the lambda as the distance between successive rarefaction and compression. Now coming to the speed of the wave. Speed of the wave is unaffected by what frequency it is. It is having what the wavelength it is having, right? So the different frequency waves, different wavelength wave, all of the waves are traveling with the same speed. In the vacuum, it is traveling with the speed of light 3 into 10 raised to power 8 meter per second. Now coming to the universal wave equation, and this wave equation is valid for all of the waves which are present anywhere in the universe. So universal wave equation is V is equal to F lambda. V is the velocity of the wave, F is the frequency of the wave, and lambda is the wavelength of the wave. So velocity is equal to frequency in the lambda is the universal wave equation. One vibration of the source will give one complete wavelength. So if I have one vibration present in the source, it is giving me one complete wavelength. If I have one vibration giving me one lambda, right? So now the fixed and reflection. So now coming to the various types of reflection. Reflection of the wave is when we have some surface from where the wave touch and it will come back to the same medium. So if I have a surface, this is a surface, hard surface, and the wave is traveling, reaching to the surface, and it is again moving back into the same medium. This process is called the reflection. So now over here, fixed and reflection. Fixed and reflection is the reflection from the rigid obstacle when the pulse is inverted, right? So now here you can see we have a fixed end. So fixed and the system is there, and the wave is now moving towards the fixed end, right? So when the wave is moving towards the fixed end, the wave is inverted, right? So fixed and reflection will be giving me the inverted wave. Now free end reflection, when the wave is not having any end, wave is moving as it is, so that time there is no inversion of the wave. Wave will travel with the same phase, so there is no new medium. So no new medium will be there, and we have the wave which is free to move to the infinity, and there is no inversion. Now coming to the partial pulse. What is a partial pulse? Partial pulse is the pulse when we have some of the energy going to the new medium and some of the energy will be staying in the original medium. So if I have two mediums, so if the first medium is a fast medium and the second medium is a slow medium, so the wave will be having higher amplitude in the first medium or the faster medium and the lower amplitude in the slower medium. On the other hand, if I say the first medium is a slower medium, so it will be having lower amplitude in the first medium, and second medium is fast, so this is slow, this is fast, this is slow, this is slow, this is fast. In the fast medium we will be having higher amplitude. So the partial pulse would be having the same energy in the new medium and the some energy in the new medium and some energy in the original medium. If I am moving from fast to slow medium, the wavelength is decreasing. So you can see over here lambda has to decrease, and if I am moving from slow to fast medium, the lambda is increasing. But you must remember that there is no inversion at all whenever I am having the partial pulse. Whenever I have the medium change, there is no inversion, right? Coming to the ripple tank. So from here now you can understand what is a 2D wave. From 1D wave we have understood a lot of parameters. Now we are moving towards the 2D wave. So ripple tank is the perfect apparatus from where we can observe the 2D wave. So if you have a point source in the ripple tank, we will be observing a circular wave. If you have a linear source, you will be observing the straight waves. Now wave front is the leading edge of a wave. If I have the wave and if I have a leading edge of the wave, that is called as the wave front. Now wave ray is the straight line which is drawn perpendicular to a wave front that indicates the direction of transmission. Now the wave front is the wave which is traveling, and now I need to find out what is the direction in which the wave is traveling. So what I do, I draw a line which is perpendicular to the wave front, and this line, this perpendicular line to the wave front will indicate the direction of the transmission, and this perpendicular line is called as the wave ray. Coming to the normal. Normal is a straight line which is perpendicular to the barrier stuck by a wave. So if a wave is experiencing a barrier, I will make a perpendicular line to the barrier. So this is called my normal. So normal is a straight line drawn perpendicular to the barrier stuck by a wave. Now normal is dependent upon the barrier. It is not dependent upon the wave. So wave can have any angle. Normal will be drawn perpendicular to the barrier only, right? Coming to the focal point. Focal point is a specific place where the straight waves are reflected to. So if I have various waves, all of the waves are combining at a particular location. So this location, particular location is called as the focal point. So if I have the mirror, right? So straight mirror is there. So focal point will be at the infinite, because all of the straight light will be, or straight waves will be reflecting, and they will be moving in the straight line only. So if I have straight mirror, waves will be traveling like this, and these parallel waves will be not be combining at a particular point. So I can say these are combining at an infinite point. But on the other hand, if I have a concave mirror or a convex mirror, so from here I can see we can have the focal point, because parallel wave will appear to meet at a particular location, that is called as a focal point. Now coming to the refraction. Refraction is a bending effect on a wave's direction that occurs when wave enters a different medium at an angle. So when I have the two mediums, one is a faster medium, one is a slower medium, and wave is traveling from either faster medium to slower medium or vice versa, from slower medium to faster medium. What will happen if it is having an angle with the normal? So if the wave is traveling in the direction of the normal, then the wave will travel as it is. But if the wave is having some angle with the normal, so wave will bend, right? It will either bend away from the normal or it will bend towards the normal. If the wave is traveling from rarer to denser medium, which means if the wave is traveling from the higher speed medium to the lower speed medium, the wave will travel towards the normal, and if the opposite scenario is there, then the wave will travel away from the normal. So this is actually the case of refraction, where we observe the bending effect on the wave's direction that occurs when a wave enters a different medium at an angle. Now coming to the diffraction. Diffraction is again a bending effect. So this is again a bending effect that is occurring in the wave's direction as the wave passes through an opening or it is obstructed by an obstacle. So when the wave is getting an obstacle in between its path, or when the wave is passing through an opening, narrow opening, that time the bending effect on the wave will be happening, and this is called the diffraction. For the reflection to be happening, we have the law, which is angle of incidence will be equal to the angle of reflection, right? Coming to the wave interference. Wave interference is when we have two or more waves act simultaneously on the same particle of the medium. If two waves are coming right? One wave is coming from here, one wave is coming from here. These two waves are acting simultaneously on the same particle of the medium. We are calling it as the wave interference. Now we have two types of wave interference, destructive interference and the constructive interference. Destructive interference is when we have the diminish in the wave amplitude by the another wave. So if these two waves are subtracting each other and the amplitude is diminished at this point, so we are calling it as the destructive interference. So if I have two intensity of light and at the point where they are meeting, that point is having the lower intensity than either both of these waves, so this is called the destructive interference. So medium amplitude is lesser than either of the two waves acting alone. Constructive interference is when the waves are building each other up. So these two waves are coming to this point and at this point we will have a higher intensity. So this is called the constructive interference. So where we have the medium, in the medium we have the larger amplitude, larger intensity. Coming to the supercrust. Supercrust is the actually when the crest of one wave is meeting with the crest of another wave. Crest of one wave meeting with the crest of another wave, we will get supercrust. So now after that we have super trough. Super trough is obtained when I have trough of one wave meeting with the trough of another wave. Now coming to the superposition principle. Superposition principle states that the amplitude of interfering wave will be equal to the displacement of the individual wave. So if I have some displacement in the individual wave, the amplitude of the interfering wave will be equal to the sum of the individual waves displacements. Now coming to the resonance. Resonance is actually a phenomena of the transfer of the energy from one object to the another having the same natural frequency. If I have two objects which are having the same natural frequency, then there would be energy transfer and this is called as the resonance. Now coming to the sympathetic vibration. Sympathetic vibration is the response to the vibration with same natural frequency. So if I have the same natural frequency for the two objects, there is response to this vibration. This is called as sympathetic vibration. Coming to the standing wave. So standing wave is a wave traveling in the opposite direction. It will be having same amplitude and the same wavelength. So if I have a wave which is traveling in the opposite direction to the given wave, right? So these two waves, if I have the one wave, if I have another wave which is traveling in the opposite direction, right? So these two waves, when they are combining, the crest is of one wave is now superimposed on the trough of another wave. So we are producing a standing wave in this case, right? So now here we must understand what is a nodal point or node point, so which is represented as n, which remains at rest. So node point will be remaining at rest. So if the wave is traveling like this point will always be at this position, this point will always be at this position. This is the point which is traveling to the maximum. This point is again traveling, this point is again traveling, but this point is remaining stationary, it is at rest. So this is my node. Antinode is the point which is midway between the nodes, that is traveling to the maximum distance either at the trough or at the crest. So that is my antinode, which is a point which is midway between the node and which is giving me maximum constructive interference. So if I have the antinode, I will be having the maximum constructive interference, right? So standing waves are also produced by the stationary interference pattern of node and antinodes in a medium. If I have the stationary interference pattern for node and antinode, that time I will be producing a standing wave. So distance between the successive node and antinode in a standing wave will always be equal to lambda upon 2. I hope you understood all of the things. Now move on to the practice questions for the day. So let's start about the topic. Cycle. What is cycle? Cycle is one complete vibration or one complete oscillation. Now frequency. Frequency is the number of complete cycles in 1 second, right? So frequency can be represented as number of cycles upon total time, right? So the unit of frequency is hertz and 1 hertz will be 1 cycle in 1 second, right? So 1 cycle per second is 1 hertz, which is the unit of frequency. Period. Period is the time required for 1 cycle, right? So time is total time upon the number of cycles. So frequency can be represented as 1 upon the period or it is also known as time period. So time period is equal to 1 upon frequency. So let's start with the first problem. A mass hung from the spring vibrates 15 times in 12 seconds. Calculate the frequency and the period of vibration. So we have the number of cycles 15, the total time is 12 seconds. So frequency is the total number of cycles upon total time, which is 15 upon 12, which is equal to 1.2 cycles per second, right? Or we can represent it as 1.2 hertz. Now T as the total time upon the number of cycles, it is the period. So what is the total time? For the total time we have 12 seconds upon the total number of cycles, which is 15. So it will come out to be equal to 0.8 second, right? So time period can be calculated from this formula where we have 1 upon frequency. So what was the frequency? It was 1.2. So 1 upon 1.2 will be equal to 0.8 seconds. So with the help of both of the formulas, you can find out the time period. Now coming to the next question, it states a child is swinging on a swing with a constant amplitude of 1.2 meter. What total distance does the child move through horizontally in 3 cycles? Now the amplitude is given, which is 1.2 meter. So child is swinging in this direction. Now it will come back to this position, then it will move to this direction, and then it will come back to this position. So what is the total length of this cycle? If this is A, the child is moving 4 times the A. So in one cycle I will be having 4 into the amplitude, which is 1.2 meter. So 4 into 1.2 is 4.8. Now how many cycles he has completed? 3 cycles. So in one cycle, if he was traveling 4.8 meter, in the 3 cycles he will be traveling 3 into 4.8, which is 14.4 meter. Now coming to the next problem, it states the frequency of a wave is 6 into 10 hertz. Calculate the period. So now I know time period is 1 upon frequency, so we can put the period as 1 upon 6 into 10 raised to power 1 hertz, right? So time period will come out to be equal to 0.017 second, right? So this was a very simple question. Now moving to the next question, it states draw a periodic transverse wave consisting of 2 wavelengths with A is equal to 1 centimeter and lambda is equal to 2 centimeter. Now amplitude is given. First of all, we are going to make the rest axis, right? So we will make a rest axis PQ. Then we will be making 2 dotted lines. We are given the amplitude. Amplitude is the maximum change. So now the maximum change is represented by 1 centimeter. So above 1 centimeter I am going to make a dotted line. Below 1 centimeter I am going to make a dotted line, right? So we have made a 2 dotted line, 1 centimeter above and below. Then we will be denoting the started point B. Started point is denoted and the lambda is given. Lambda is the wavelength, right? So the total wavelength is the wavelength from the point B to F, and in this manner we can represent the point D, the point F, the point H. So with the help of wavelength we can denote the BD, BF and BFH, and this is how we can denote the various points. Now we can similarly we can denote the top crest and the bottom crest as well. So in between B and D, at the center we will be having top crest. In between D and F, at the center point we will be having E. Now I just need to trace the waveform. So let's start with the first problem, which states the wavelength of a water wave in ripple tank is 0.08 meter. If the frequency of the wave is 2.5 hertz, what is its speed? So now wavelength is given, frequency is given, and we all know the universal wave equation, according to which V is equal to F lambda. Now this is the universal wave equation that we are going to use. Now we know F, I know lambda, so we can put it and we can find out the V. So when you multiply 0.5 hertz with 0.08 meter, you are going to get the speed of the wave. So it will be coming out to be equal to 0.2 meter per second, right? So I hope you understood how we calculated the speed of the wave. Now coming to the next problem, it states the distance between the successive crest in a series of water wave is 4 meter and the crest travel 9 meter in 4.5 seconds. What is the frequency of the wave, right? For finding out frequency, again we are going to use the universal wave equation, but for universal wave equation we require the speed of the wave. So now the speed of the wave can be found out with this statement. It is traveling 9 meter in 4.5 seconds. So delta D is 9 meter, delta T is 4.5 second. So V is delta D upon delta T. So now I hope you understand speed is distance upon time. time. The change in distance upon change in time is speed. So now what is delta t? It is 9 upon 4.5. So 9 meter upon 4.5 second will be equal to 2 meter per second, and this is my speed. Now we know the speed over here. This is my universal wave equation. Now we know the lambda over here, and we can find out the frequency. Frequency is 2 meter per second upon lambda, which is 4 meter, right? So it will be equal to 0.5, and the unit of frequency is cycles per second or hertz, right? So frequency can be 0.5 hertz. Now coming to the next question, it states the period of sound wave from a piano is 1.18 into 10 raised to power minus 3 second if the speed of the wave in air is 3.4 into 10 raised to power 2 meter. What is its wavelength, right? Now here the time period is given and we have to find out the wavelength, right? So the time period is given, the V is given, and we have to find out the lambda. Again, from the universal wave equation, we can see V is equal to lambda into F. We know V is equal to lambda into F from the universal wave equation. Now frequency is 1 upon time, that we already know. So we can be represented as lambda into 1 upon time period, right? So V is equal to lambda upon T, or I can say lambda is equal to V into T. Now we know both V, we know T. So we are going to put it. So lambda is equal to 3.4 into 10 raised to power 2 meter per second multiplied with the time period, which is 1.18 into 10 raised to power minus 3. So now here if you multiply both of them, you are going to get 0.4 meter, and this is the wavelength for the given wave. I hope you understood it. Now coming to the next and the last problem, the distance between the two successive notes in a vibrating string is 10 centimeter, right? So distance between two nodes is given. The frequency of the source is 30 hertz. What is the wavelength? What is the speed of the wave? So we have to find out two things over here, wavelength and speed. Now distance between two successive nodes. We all know distance between two nodes. So if I take my wave like this, so distance between these two nodes, right, you can see here only half of the cycle is complete, or I can take these two nodes as well. So distance between two nodes is half of the wavelength, so it can be represented as lambda upon 2. So distance between two successive nodes is lambda upon 2. Lambda upon 2 is given, which is 10. So lambda will be equal to 10 into 2, which is equal to 20. Now it is given in centimeters, so 20 centimeter. Now we have to find out the second thing. Wavelength we have found out. Now we have to find out the speed of the wave. So speed of the wave is given by the universal wave equation. V is equal to F lambda. So V will be equal to, what is the frequency? It is given 30 hertz, and the lambda we have found out, it is equal to 20 centimeters. So V will be equal to 600 centimeter per second, or I can represent it as 6 into 10 raised to power 2 centimeter per second. So this is how we can find out both of the things in this question. I hope you understood the practice questions. Now I recommend you to download the Vaishali Z Learning mobile app, where you can find out various notes and many other study related things. So you can explore the app, and also you can explore the various other platforms where we are working. We are working on Instagram as well as LinkedIn. So you can explore these platforms, and also if you have still not subscribed the channel, please subscribe our YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much.